Hey guys, welcome back to A Little Less Lisa. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and this is my channel all about my health, wellness, fitness, weight loss maintenance journey. This particular video is my weekly video that I do where I talk about my last week and how it went on my, especially right now, on my maintenance journey, and letting you know any struggles I might have had, any fantastic wins that I might have had, all the things. So we have just finished week 42, so let's get into it. So as a quick recap, for those of you who may be new or perhaps you've missed some videos, etc., my name is Lisa. I am a 57-year-old postmenopausal female. I am about 5'6" tall. I started my journey on March 29th, and I started that journey by taking compound tirzepatide. Started at, the dose that everybody does, 2.5, and then worked my way up to 5 milligrams, for which I have never gone above. So I went up to 5, I reached my goal weight. Initially, my goal weight was like 150 pounds. I guess I should tell you, I started at 183.8 pounds. I got to my initial goal weight of 150 pounds at about week 15, I think it was, and realized that, my body was doing well on this medicine, and I thought it should not be an issue to get to sort of a weight that I had maintained for 12, 13 years, which was around 143 pounds. So then I readjusted and set my goal, like I said, to 143.8 pounds, because that would be a round 40 pound lost. And then after a couple weeks of being in maintenance, I realized I wasn't really ready to be in maintenance. I didn't think that I would necessarily be, it wasn't that I didn't think I would be happy at that weight. It was more that my weight on this postmenopausal body looked different than it did when I was, pre-menopause. So, things had shifted. I was carrying weight in different areas, that kind of thing. So I thought, let's just kind of keep going on the weight loss journey, see where I end up, see where my body wants to go. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't have really another number in mind. It was just more of a, let's kind of see where I go, how I feel, let's go to, I guess, where I felt comfortable and happy looking in the mirror. And I think for me, that's kind of my best way to judge how much I want to weigh. Like at that point, really, it doesn't even become so much about the number on the scale, or even the number on the scale at all. It really has to do more with the image that I see in the mirror, how I feel like clothes are fitting on me, that kind of thing. Like I said, as opposed to what the number on the scale says. So I continued, like I said, to lose weight, definitely slower once I got past, like I said, 143, which I think I got to around the 20-week mark. It took me a good, I think, about 8 to maybe 10 weeks or so to lose like another 10, what it turned out to be another 10 pounds. So I got down to, we're in sort of the 133, 132, that sort of range, like I said, about 50 pounds. And that's where I've been maintaining ever since. And the way I do these check-in videos is that I tell you whether I am within my maintenance range, which for me is essentially a 5-pound range that kind of averages around that 50-pound mark. So, a couple pounds under, a couple pounds over kind of thing. And I tell you where that is because, as I just said, I don't really want to focus on the number anymore. So, to tell you, oh yeah, I stepped on the scale and I was up 0.4 pounds, or, I was down 0.8 pounds, whatever it is. When you're in maintenance, when you've gotten to a weight that you're happy with, your weight is going to fluctuate naturally. It's going to be down, it's going to be up. Like I said, I want to keep it to a range so that things don't get out of control in either direction, frankly. But yeah, like I said, I don't really understand people who are in maintenance and then they tell you, yeah, I got on the scale this week and I was up 0.4 pounds. And why do you think I was up 0.4 pounds? Because that's just what your body does. I mean, unless you have some like super weird, again, you step on the scale and you're up 8 pounds or something, some very weird number that might need some explanation. When you're in maintenance, to tell people you were, like I said, up 1.2 pounds this week and next week you're down 0.8 pounds, like it just, I don't see the point. Obviously, if you have a channel and you're doing that, you do you. For me personally, I know that bodies naturally fluctuate in weight. You don't get to a weight and then stay that precise weight every day of the week for years and years and months and all those things. So, like I said, I just feel like it makes more sense to report it as being within a range, and that's how we do things here. So hopefully that's good for you all. So we just finished week 42, and again, I am still on 5 milligrams. The way I'm handling maintenance is spacing out my doses. So I range kind of anywhere between, I would say 9 to 11, sometimes 12 days in between injections. It's just kind of how I feel. If I feel like the medicine has been wearing off more and maybe I'm starting to hear some food noise, or, my hunger has increased a lot, which generally that's kind of not really, I don't really have an issue with that. Then maybe I'll take it on day 10 instead of day 11, whatever. I guess my point is I don't have like a date or a number of days set in stone. I just kind of go with the flow. So I did also finally take my measurements. I have not taken my measurements in essentially what is like 9 weeks. So I will give you those, but let's start with the weight number, because that's, I think, the one that everybody wants to know. And I am within my maintenance range, which is great. So happy about that, especially given some of the eating struggles that I have had again this week. And let's talk about what happened this week and why I'm still struggling. Let me sit back and relax as I tell you this and drink my protein coffee. So if you missed my video about the fact that I'm going to be having skin removal surgery, I'll link it up in the cards above and try to remember to link it in the description box below. But I am having brachioplasty, which means they're going to remove the excess skin on my arms. And I'm going to have a breast lift, and I'm also going to have my breast implants removed. Well, if you watched that video, I talked about the fact that I had to have a current mammogram for that, and there was an issue with that mammogram, which required me to go back and have a follow-up mammogram as well as an ultrasound on my right breast. Good news, everything's fine. Everything was normal. There was some overlapping tissue. Radiologist said, you are absolutely good. Nothing to follow up on, or no, extra monitoring that we need to do. We'll see you in a year. So that was all fantastic. So that, as we talked about in my check-in video last week, was causing me a lot of stress. And that stress was definitely coming out in some old eating habits and I guess sort of relationship with food, or things that I used to do that was something I don't want to continue. And I guess maybe I thought I had been passed, but I guess I've never sort of been put to the test. And now I have, and I see that some of those behaviors still exist. So now I'm over that hump of the mammogram, and you'd think that would be fantastic, except that I then went to get my actual medical clearance from this new doctor, because I didn't have an internal medicine doctor here. Frankly, my internal medicine doctor, who I want to keep seeing, is in Kansas City. I had a physical back in May, so not even a year ago. I was perfectly healthy, everything was normal, that kind of thing. But I needed somebody to physically examine me for this clearance, and so I needed to see somebody here in New York. So, randomly picked a doctor and went to go see him. And while I appreciate the fact that he was really trying to be thorough and, wanting to feel comfortable in clearing me for surgery. I get it. In discussion, one of the things came up, and I was honest, was that my father passed away of a massive heart attack at age 54. To which he then said, well, then I need to send you to a cardiologist before I will clear you for surgery. I was like, okay, great. And very kindly of him, he immediately got me an appointment. And by immediately, I mean literally right after I saw him. So I walked from his office, basically 1 block, to the cardiology office and saw the cardiologist. Did my EKG at the internal medicine doctor, did my lab work. He gave me the order for the chest x-ray and said, we'll see what those, what your blood work looks like, and go see the cardiologist. And if he's fine with everything, then, I can give you clearance. And assuming obviously the chest x-ray was okay. So go to the cardiologist, and we'll just cut to the chase. They did an echocardiogram, and while the cardiologist said that my heart was very strong and all the things that they looked at, pumping and ventricles and valves and whatever an echocardiogram shows, was all great, it also showed that I had excess fluid around my heart. And he said, well, some fluid around your heart is normal because your heart doesn't sit in a vacuum. It sits within some fluid. I had more than normal. And again, while he wasn't super concerned about it, it did require him to have me come back and have a stress test. Now, the issue is that I can't have that stress test until after they go through the insurance, pre-authorization process, which according to their office could take 2 weeks. So they don't schedule anybody for a stress test any earlier than 2 weeks from when I saw that doctor that day, which puts me at the 29th of January. I'm supposed to have all my paperwork in for the clearance on the 22nd of January. Well, clearly that's not going to happen. So again, stress. I'm not super concerned about the fluid around the heart. He said, it could be that you have maybe some kind of low-grade infection or whatever. And to be honest with you, I was battling an upper respiratory infection. So, I'm not super worried about that. I'm also not super worried, although I'm going to be seeing the doctor tomorrow because he wanted to see me, that I have a couple of elevated levels in my calcium and something having to do with my liver enzymes, not remembering what that level was. But both of those, if you look them up, the most common reason for that is dehydration. And my appointment, which required fasting, was at 1:30 in the afternoon, and I didn't honestly have any water either in the morning or afternoon before I went to that appointment. So I'm sure I was very dehydrated when I had my blood drawn. So I'm hydrating this weekend, and I'll hydrate tomorrow, and I assume tomorrow when I go back to see that doctor, which is the same doc anyway. But my point is, it has been another stressful week. And while, yes, I am still aware that those habits came, kind of bubbling to the surface again, I'm still doing some of them. Maybe not all, but, I'm definitely still, I think, stress eating. And I don't necessarily mean stress eating as in I'm eating too many calories or I'm eating to deal with my stress. It's more that I feel like what I'm eating, whether the choices that I'm making are to deal with my stress, right? They're more carbohydrates, more sugar-based, things that I would have turned to, like I said, in times of stress. Again, I'm not really overeating them, but I'm not, like I said, thrilled with the choices I'm making. I do want to, again, continue with protein, my water, etc. So, still a work in progress. As many of you suggested, and I took that recommendation, and I should have thought of it myself, but I did meet with the dietitian from Friday's Health. If you are unaware, I am a patient of Friday's Health, In addition to that, after becoming a patient of theirs, I then became an advocate for them. So I do have a discount code. If any of you are looking for a telehealth company, I think Fridays is fantastic. I often talk about the fact that I think that they really look at the patient from a holistic standpoint and not just purely okay, we're going to write you your script and send you on your merry way. They focus on a lot of things that I think are important in order for you or I to be successful in our weight loss journey and then on into maintenance. One of those is nutrition. So they have, group coaching sessions. In addition to that, you can meet one-on-one with a dietitian. All of this is included in the price that you pay. It's a all-in-one price, all doses for tirzepatide and all doses for semaglutide. They're two different prices, but you get with that, like I said, group nutrition counseling, one-on-one nutrition counseling. They pay for your lab work because they do require lab work in order for you to get on the medication. It includes mental health coaching. It includes fitness, group fitness activities, in addition to access to a fitness app, which has specific workouts that were built for GLP-1 medication patients, for both home and in the gym. Anyway, my point is, I think they are absolutely fantastic. And I myself didn't even think about the fact that I could schedule an appointment with a dietitian. And you guys were like, hey, you are really wanting to refocus and as I say, get back on the protein wagon, meet with a dietitian. So that's what I did. I made an appointment. A couple days later, I was able to meet with her. She is absolutely fantastic. If you are a Friday's Health patient and you have not met with her, I would highly recommend meeting with her. She had great suggestions. She told me about this fantastic website, which is free, which I will put a link to in the description box. It helps you with meal planning and substitutions and protein suggestions. It was just great. I need to go look at it. She was sort of clicking around, sharing her screen, and so I could see some of it as she was showing me, and it just looks fantastic. So super excited to kind of dive into that and explore it myself and start using it. And then after we were done, later after she said, I will send you a follow-up email with, links to things and suggestions for protein and what you might want to do and her protein recommendation and all that kind of thing. And sure enough, at the end of her kind of work day, after she was done meeting with patients, I got that email and it's fantastic. So I would highly, highly recommend, like I said, if you are a Fridays patient and you haven't taken advantage of one of those benefits of meeting one-on-one, even if you think you're doing a great job with everything, it's not a bad idea just to kind of do a little check-in, right? And have somebody who that's their specialty sort of evaluate what you're eating and see and maybe give you some recommendations on where maybe you might tweak this or tweak that, or, maybe you need to increase your protein a little bit more, that kind of thing. So like I said, talked to her and I feel good about refocusing on protein. So I'm hoping that now that I've had that and I've gotten some follow-up information that I can start implementing that. I did also finally get my planner materials, which I've been waiting to come in the mail. And so I've just earlier today actually sat down and started really working on my goal setting and what I want to accomplish, and then laying out the steps and the actual tasks to accomplish those goals. And so one of them is going to be focused on getting in my protein and doing all that. So really feel like I have some concrete things to grab onto so that I can get back on that wagon. And then also hopefully that will address some of these eating patterns or habits that I have seen sort of creep back in and kind of, like I said, refocus. So yeah, that's what's going on with the eating and the stress and the doctors and all the things. So again, I'll ask for you to send any good thoughts that you have my way, for hoping that, the stress test is fine and that it doesn't show something that I nor the cardiologist, expect it to find. Like I said, hopefully it will just be fine, but it's just annoying and it's a little stressful in that I am sitting here again in limbo, not really knowing if there's something wrong with me or not. So let's move on from that and kind of close out this week with telling you about my measurements. So like I said, it's been about 9 weeks or so since I took my last measurements. I took them about a week and a half before I left on our Asia trip. And so I took them, I think just yesterday actually, and I lost, so this is again is, over 2 months worth of time. I lost about 5.5 pounds, not pounds, 5.5 inches. The majority of that came from my bust. Obviously that will change quite dramatically after I have the surgery. Lost about 1/2 inch of my waist. Lost about 3/4 of an inch, it looks like, in my hips. Thighs went down a little bit. Arms were not much. Again, hopefully we'll see a big difference once I have the brachioplasty. But yeah, no, I was happy about that. I really feel like since my weight has been pretty stable over these last, whatever, 4 months, something like that, that the changes that I'm seeing, that the inches that I see that I'm losing are as a result of losing some fat and replacing it with muscle, right? Because the more muscle you have, that muscle weighs more than the same volume of fat, but it takes up less space on your body, right? So if I'm losing 1 pound of fat, but I'm gaining 1 pound of muscle, the weight stays the same, but the volume within my body gets smaller because 1 pound of fat takes up more space than 1 pound of muscle. Hopefully that makes sense. Happy with the measurements and happy with being in my maintenance range. So yeah, all except for some of the eating stuff and the stress over my continued health testing issues. Otherwise than that, I'm good. I'm good. So let me know in the comments below how your journey is doing. I always love to hear from you and, hopefully be able to cheer you on. And if you have any questions or want some advice from only my perspective of being a person who's gone through it, obviously not as a doctor, not as a medical provider, but like I said, just based on my own experience, I'm happy to do that. I actually just talked on the phone with a friend of a friend who was kind of struggling and was asking my opinions on some things. So like I said, happy to do that with any of you in the comments below, or feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to answer questions over there as well. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It does help the YouTube algorithm. And if you enjoy this kind of content and you want to stick around and see more, click the subscribe button and the notification bell below. That way you'll know every time I upload a video. If you want to keep on watching some videos, there'll be another one in the corner over here for you to watch. And remember, kindness and hate spread the same. The choice is yours. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.